The 4th of July barbecue was Richard Fontaine's favorite tradition. Every year, he opened up his estate, and it really was an estate. 5 acres of manicured lawn rolling down to a private lake, to friends, family, business associates, and anyone else who wanted free food and fireworks. There were caterers, a live band, enough ribs and burgers to feed a small army. I'd been coming to these barbecues since I was a kid. Richard was my dad's college roommate, his best friend for 35 years. They'd started their careers together, gone to each other's weddings, been godfathers to each other's children. The difference was that Richard had gotten rich, really rich. Tech investments in the 90s, real estate in the 2000s, a Midas touch that turned everything he touched into gold. My dad had done okay. Middle management, decent salary, comfortable life. But Richard existed on a different plane entirely. Despite the wealth gap, they'd stayed close. Richard was generous with his success, always picking up dinner tabs and sending extravagant Christmas gifts. He'd paid for my dad's honeymoon when he married Nina. He'd helped with Kayla's college tuition, even though Kayla wasn't even related to him. And every year, for my birthday, he gave me money. Or at least, that's what I'd always believed. I was 24 years old, standing by the beverage tent with a cold beer, watching the sun sink toward the lake. Richard found me there, looking distinguished in his linen shirt and expensive sunglasses, a man completely at ease in his own kingdom. "Grace, there you are. I've been looking for you." "Hey, Uncle Richard." He wasn't really my uncle, but I'd called him that since I was old enough to talk. "Great party as always. Glad you could make it. How's the new job?" "Good. Exhausting, but good. I'm learning a lot. That's what your 20s are for. Learn everything, make mistakes, figure out who you are." He sipped his drink, something amber and expensive looking. "Have you given any more thought to what we discussed? About buying property?" I laughed. "On my salary? I'm barely covering rent and student loans. A house isn't happening anytime soon." Richard's brow furrowed. "What do you mean? What about the money I gave you?" "The birthday money? That's sweet, Uncle Richard. But $100 a year isn't exactly a down payment fund." The confusion on his face deepened. $100? Grace, I've never given you $100 in your life. Something cold started forming in my stomach. "But Dad always gave me a card from you. $100 bill inside. Every birthday since I was 10. I haven't given you cash since you were a child. Since you turned 18, I've been giving your father checks. Substantial checks." Richard's voice had changed. The warmth was gone, replaced by something sharp. "For your 21st birthday, I wrote him a check for $50,000, specifically for a house down payment." The cold thing in my stomach turned to ice. $50,000? That's what I said. I told him to put it in a trust for you, something you could access when you were ready to buy. He said he'd take care of it. Richard was staring at me intently now. "Grace, are you telling me you never received that money?" "I received $100, in a card, with your name on it." Behind me, I heard a crash. I turned around. My stepmother Nina was standing 10 feet away, a paper plate of potato salad scattered at her feet. Her face was white. My father was beside her, beer frozen halfway to his mouth, looking at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Fear, guilt, the look of a man who'd just been caught. Richard's eyes moved from me to my father. The pieces were clicking together in his head, the same way they were clicking in mine. "Dale," Richard's voice was ice. "What did you do with the money I gave Grace?" My father opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "It was for her house, Dale. For her future. $50,000, and you told me you'd set up a trust." Richard stepped forward, his considerable presence suddenly menacing. "She's been living in a rental, paying off student loans, and all this time I thought she was saving for something bigger. What did you do with it?" My father finally found his voice. "Richard, it's complicated. There were expenses, and the market was bad, and we thought we could invest it and make it grow." "We?" Richard turned to Nina. "This was your idea, wasn't it?" Nina's mouth opened and closed. She looked at my father, then at me, then at the ground, and then I looked at their house. Not Richard's house. My father's house. The house they'd bought 5 years ago, right after I turned 21. The house with the pool and the 3-car garage and the finished basement. The house that Nina had decorated with expensive furniture while I was sharing a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates to make rent. Your house. The words came out flat, disconnected. You bought your house the same year Uncle Richard gave you that money. Grace, honey, it wasn't like that. The down payment on that house was around $50,000, wasn't it? I remember Nina bragging about what a good deal you got. My father was shaking his head, but the denial was hollow. Everyone could see it. You used my house money to buy your house. You took $50,000 that was meant for me and spent it on yourselves. We were going to pay it back. The plan was always to pay it back. But then the car needed repairs, and Kayla needed help with school, and it just never... Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. The barbecue had gone quiet. People were staring. Richard's wife Margaret had appeared from somewhere, her face a mask of polite horror. Other guests were whispering, pointing, watching the drama unfold. I've spent 4 years wondering why I couldn't get ahead, I said. 4 years of ramen dinners and side hustles and telling myself that this was just how life worked in your 20s. Meanwhile, you were sitting in a house that should have been mine. It was an investment. We were going to sell it eventually and give you the profits. But you didn't, did you? You've been living there for 5 years. You've been enjoying the pool and the garage and the guest room while I slept on a mattress on the floor because I couldn't afford a bed frame. Nina started crying. The performative kind. The kind designed to make people feel sorry for her. Don't. My voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. Don't you dare cry. You pushed for this. You're the one who convinced Dad to use my money for your house. You're the one who picked out the furniture with money that was supposed to be my future. I was trying to help the family. I'm not your family. I'm the stepdaughter you've been robbing for half a decade. Richard stepped between us. His face was thunderous. Dale, I'm going to say this once, and I want you to understand that I mean every word. You have 30 days to return that money to Grace. Every penny, plus interest. I don't care how you do it. Sell the house, take out a loan, liquidate your retirement. But that money goes back to her. Richard, be reasonable. 30 days. Or I go to a lawyer. What you did isn't just betrayal, Dale. It's theft. Fraud. You took money that was given for a specific purpose and used it for personal gain. I have the canceled checks. I have the notes I wrote specifying what the funds were for. A prosecutor would have a field day. My father's face went gray. You can't be serious. We've been friends for 35 years. We were friends. Past tense. A friend doesn't steal from my goddaughter and then lie to my face about it for 5 years. Richard put his hand on my shoulder. Grace, I'm sorry. I should have verified that you received the money. I trusted your father, and I shouldn't have. It's not your fault, Uncle Richard. It feels like it is. He glared at my father one more time. 30 days, Dale. I mean it. He led me away from the scene, away from my crying stepmother and my pale-faced father and the ruins of a relationship that would never be repaired. The party continued around us, but for me, the celebration was over. I'd come to enjoy a barbecue and left knowing that my own father had stolen my future. Theo found me by the lake an hour later. My boyfriend had been getting drinks when the confrontation happened, but word traveled fast at parties like this. By the time he reached me, he'd already heard 3 different versions of the story. Grace, Jesus, are you okay? I don't know. I was staring at the water, watching the last light of sunset paint the surface gold. I just found out my dad stole $50,000 from me. I'm not sure what okay looks like right now. Theo sat beside me on the dock, close but not touching, giving me space. What are you going to do? I don't know that either. Richard gave him 30 days to pay it back. But where are they going to get $50,000? They're not rich. The house is their biggest asset, and if they sell it, they won't have anywhere to live. Is that your problem? What? I'm asking seriously. Is their housing situation your problem? They stole from you, Grace. They took money that was meant for your future and used it to improve their own lives. Why should you care where they end up? I thought about it. Theo had a point. My father had made his choice, had chosen Nina, chosen the house, chosen his own comfort over his daughter's future. He didn't deserve my concern, but I wasn't sure I could turn it off that easily. 24 years of being taught to respect your parents, to put family first, to give people the benefit of the doubt. Those lessons didn't disappear overnight, even when the people who taught them turned out to be thieves. I'm not going to make it easy for them, I said finally. I'm not going to say, keep the money, it's fine. But I'm also not going to pretend I don't care what happens. Fair enough. Theo took my hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Even if I decide to burn everything down? Especially then. I'll bring the matches. I managed a small smile. Thanks. That's what boyfriends are for. Emotional support and light arson. We sat together until the fireworks started. Explosions of color reflected in the dark water. Around us, people cheered and celebrated, oblivious to the bomb that had gone off in my family earlier that evening. Or maybe not oblivious. Maybe they knew exactly what had happened and were just polite enough not to stare. Either way, the party continued, and I sat by the lake with Theo, watching the sky burn, trying to figure out what to do with the wreckage of my trust. My father called the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened to the message, which was exactly what I expected. Excuses, justifications, promises that it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Grace, honey, we need to talk. What happened at Richard's it was taken out of context. Yes, we used some of the money, but we always planned to pay it back. It was supposed to be an investment in the family's future, including yours. Please call me back so we can discuss this like adults. Like adults. As if I was the one being childish. As if expecting to receive money that was given specifically for me was unreasonable. I deleted the message and called Richard instead. Grace, how are you holding up? I've been better. I wanted to thank you for last night, for standing up for me. I should have stood up for you years ago. I should have made sure the money went where it was supposed to go. He sighed. I've known Dale for 35 years. I never thought he was capable of something like this. Neither did I. For what it's worth, I meant what I said. If he doesn't return the money in 30 days, I'm involving lawyers. This isn't just a personal betrayal. It's fraud. He accepted funds under false pretenses and converted them to personal use. Would you actually press charges against your best friend? Former best friend? And yes, I would. Not out of spite, but because what he did was wrong. If there are no consequences, he'll convince himself it wasn't that serious, that he can just apologize and move on. That's exactly what he's trying to do. He left me a voicemail this morning. Don't respond. Let him sweat. And Grace, I want you to know that regardless of what happens with Dale, I'm going to make this right. I have my lawyer drawing up papers to transfer $50,000 to you directly. No intermediaries. No chance for anyone to intercept it. I felt tears prick my eyes. Uncle Richard, you don't have to do that. You already gave the money once. This isn't your fault. It's not about fault. It's about doing what I should have done from the beginning. His voice softened. I promised your mother, before she died, that I would look out for you. I've clearly done a poor job of keeping that promise. Let me fix it. I hadn't known about the promise. My mother had died when I was 9, and Richard had never mentioned any deathbed commitments. She asked you to look out for me? She knew Dale wasn't strong. She loved him, but she saw his weaknesses. She asked me to make sure you were taken care of no matter what happened. He paused. I thought I was doing that. I thought the money I gave Dale was going to you. I should have verified. You trusted him. I did. I was wrong. The conversation ended with Richard promising to have the money transferred within the week. $50,000. Deposited directly into my account. No strings attached. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt sad. My father's next attempt at contact came 3 days later. Not a phone call this time. He showed up at my apartment. I came home from work to find him sitting on the steps outside my building, looking smaller and older than I'd ever seen him. Grace, please, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I'm still your father and I love you and I want to fix this. Fix it how? Richard is already giving me the money. There's nothing for you to fix. This isn't about the money. This is about our relationship. I can't lose you, Grace. I stood on the sidewalk, looking down at this man who'd raised me. This man who'd also stolen $90,000 from me and lied about it for 5 years. You already lost me, Dad. You lost me the moment you decided to use my money for your house." Nina said, "I don't care what Nina said. She's not my mother." I sat beside him, suddenly exhausted. "Do you know what I was doing when you were picking out kitchen cabinets? I was skipping meals to afford textbooks. I was working 2 jobs and still graduating with $40,000 in debt." My father was crying now. Real tears. "I'm sorry. I know it doesn't help, but I am. You're right. It doesn't help. What can I do? I want you to understand something. I'm not going to forgive you. Not now. Not for years. And you don't get to pressure me about that." He wiped his eyes. "I know. You're right. What happened to the money from my other birthdays? Richard said he'd been giving you checks for years." My father hesitated. "You spent it all, didn't you? We had expenses. The wedding. Getting Kayla settled. How much? Over the years, how much did Richard give you for me? Maybe 90,000? $90,000. The number hit me like a punch. Go home, Dad. Enjoy it while you can. Because Richard is serious about the 30 days. I walked past him into my building. I didn't look back. The 30 days came and went. My father didn't have the money. Of course he didn't. $90,000 doesn't materialize out of thin air, especially when you've been living beyond your means for years. Richard was true to his word. He filed a civil lawsuit seeking return of the funds plus damages. The case was clear-cut. He had the checks, the bank records, the notes specifying what the money was for. My father had no defense except, "I intended to pay it back," which wasn't a defense at all. The lawsuit forced the sale of the house. I watched it happen from a distance. The listing going up, the open houses, the steady stream of strangers walking through rooms that were supposed to be mine. My father and Nina had to pack up their lives, sell off furniture, find a rental they could actually afford. Part of me felt guilty. A larger part felt satisfied. They ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. No pool, no garage, no guest room for Kayla when she visited from college. Just a modest place that matched their modest means. Nina moved out 3 months later. Apparently, living in reduced circumstances wasn't part of her plan. She filed for divorce, demanded half of what little my father had left, and disappeared into the arms of another man with better prospects. I heard about it from Richard, who heard about it from mutual friends. I didn't reach out to my father. He didn't reach out to me. The lawsuit settled eventually. Richard recovered most of the money from the house sale and transferred it to me, as promised. Between that and the additional $50,000 he'd already given, I ended up with enough for a serious down payment. I bought a house 6 months after the settlement. Not a mansion like Richard's. Not even anything close to what my father had owned. Just a small craftsman in a good neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, a little yard, enough space for Theo and me to start building something together. The closing day fell on my 26th birthday. I stood in the living room of my new house, my actual house, bought with money that was actually mine, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, exactly. The wound was still too fresh for happiness. But peace. The quiet satisfaction of knowing that I'd made it, that I'd survived my father's betrayal, and come out the other side with something real. Theo came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that I'm glad this chapter is over. The fighting, the lawsuit, all of it. I just want to move on. Have you heard from your dad lately?" "No, I don't expect to." "Do you want to? Eventually?" I thought about it. The man who'd raised me, who I'd loved and trusted, who'd turned out to be capable of profound betrayal. Did I want him in my life? Maybe someday. Not now. Now I just want to enjoy what I have without thinking about what I lost. That sounds healthy. I'm trying. We spent the rest of the day unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, making the house feel like home. Richard and Margaret came by with a housewarming gift, a ridiculously expensive coffee maker that probably cost more than my first car. "It's beautiful, Grace," Richard said, looking around. "Your mother would be proud." "You think so?" "I know so. She always said you were the strong one in the family. Looks like she was right." I hugged him. This man who'd kept his promise to my mother even when my own father hadn't. Thank you. For everything. For the money. For holding him accountable. For believing me when I said I didn't know. "You don't have to thank me. I was just fixing my own mistake. It wasn't your mistake. It was partly. I trusted the wrong person, but I learned my lesson. He smiled. And I gained a goddaughter who actually deserves the name. The settlement money was enough to pay off my student loans too. All those years of minimum payments, of watching interest accumulate faster than I could pay it down. And now, suddenly, gone. I was 26 and free. I never reconciled with my father. We exchanged awkward text messages over the years. Birthdays, holidays, the kind of superficial contact that maintained the fiction of a relationship. He remarried eventually, someone I never met, moved to a different state, built a new life that didn't include me. Richard and Margaret became my real family. Holiday dinners, birthday celebrations. The relationship I'd always wanted with my parents. Richard walked me down the aisle when Theo and I got married, tears in his eyes. "Your mother would have loved this," he whispered. "I know. I wish she could have been here. She is. She's watching over you." Theo and I have been in the house for 3 years now. We've painted the walls, redone the kitchen, turned the backyard into something that actually resembles a garden. We've talked about kids, about the future, about building something that will last longer than either of us. Sometimes, when I'm sitting on my porch watching the sunset, I think about what my life would have been like if the money had never been stolen, if Richard's checks had gone where they were supposed to go, if my father had been the person I thought he was. I'd probably be in a different house, a bigger one maybe, with more years of equity. I'd probably have less debt, more savings, a smoother path to wherever I was going. But I wouldn't have this, the house I fought for, the life I built from the ruins of my trust, the knowledge that I can survive anything, because I already have. My father stole $50,000 from me. He stole my down payment, my security, my belief that the people who love you will always do right by you. But he didn't steal my future. He just delayed it. And in the end, I got everything he tried to take. The house is mine now. Really, truly mine. Not because of my father, not despite my father, but because of me. Because I showed up at that barbecue. Because I said thank you to the right person at the right time. Because the truth has a way of coming out, even when people work hard to bury it. Richard still comes to our barbecues. He and Margaret sit on our deck, drink our wine, admire our garden. He tells Theo stories about my mother, about the person she was before cancer took her. "She would have loved this place," he always says. "She would have loved seeing you happy." I think about that sometimes. My mother, watching from wherever she is, seeing her daughter finally get what she was promised. I hope she's proud. I hope she knows I made it. And I hope she knows that the man who promised to look out for me kept his word, even when her husband didn't. Some families are built on blood. Others are built on choice. I know which kind I prefer.